It's a good old-fashioned Buds battle with me, Ryan Budds, taking on my Chicago pal, custom toy maker, and former You Don't Know Jack game writer, Dan Polydorus, in 20 questions on something we love more than life itself, toys. This is Trivia with Buds. What it be? And welcome to another episode of the Pop Culture Phenomenon, Trivia with Buds. Thank you so much for checking out this amazing podcast that we put out every Tuesday for you on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and wherever podcasts are found. I'm your host, Ryan Budds. I am a trivia host around Los Angeles, California. I'm a TV producer. I'm a stand-up comedian, and I have some great trivia questions on toys coming up with my good friend Dan Polydorus. You know him as Death by Toys on Instagram. You should follow him right now before you listen. Maybe you do that. You go on your phone, you follow him so you get to know the guest a little bit. You see some of the posts, some of his custom toys, some of his amazing toy collection, and then you kind of dive right into the episode, right from those Instagram pictures. That might be fun for you. Thanks so much for checking out this show every single Tuesday, and thanks for the feedback on last week's episode on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We had 20 questions on Buffy, the TV show, and true crime with my friends from the Unpolished Discourse podcast, Tina and Sarah, and it was a really fun episode, and man, a lot of people that listen to this show really love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, as they should. Joss Whedon under from some fire lately from his ex-wife about some feminism claims and all kinds of stuff, so he's in the news for kind of the wrong reasons right now, but we can always celebrate the great show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've had a fun weekend so far. I had a nice little weekend doing a bunch of stuff with my kid. My wife was in Vegas for all of Friday, so we had a big daddy-daughter day. We went and got some pizza. We went to an indoor playland. We did all kinds of fun daddy-daughter stuff. And I watched 2 movies with her. We went to the old Redbox. I talked about going to an old school video store last week, and this week we just went into the Redbox because I had a Redbox code that I wanted to use, and they had a lot of new stuff that I hadn't seen. Here's a bunch of movies that I want to see. I want to see that Belko Experiment. That's at the Redbox. I'm going to rent that maybe later tonight. And Split. I never saw that with James McAvoy, the M. Night Shyamalan thing, which I heard is pretty cool and ties back to one of his other movies. But this weekend I watched Boss Baby with Alec Baldwin, and I watched Lego Batman. And man, watching those back-to-back really lets you know what a good animated movie is versus a not-so-good. The kid loved Boss Baby, mostly because of all the baby stuff, but I was not a huge fan. If you want to see a really good baby-related animated movie, like a night and day version of each other are Storks in Boss Baby. Like Storks is probably like 9 out of 10, and Boss Baby is probably like a 4 or 5 out of 10. So if you're looking for a better Boss Baby for yourself or your kids or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever you guys like to do and watch movies with, I would say go watch Storks if you never saw that. Lego Batman was awesome. I was super late on seeing that. I almost saw it in theaters back when it was out, and somehow it just fell by the wayside, and I was laughing out loud quite a bit at Lego Batman, and it made me really want to buy it. So I'm going to grab that whenever I see it on sale next. I was at Disneyland this weekend. That was a ton of fun. With that season pass, we go quite a bit. And I took a picture with Pluto and my daughter and posted it on social media. But as a heads up, if you play Trivia with Buds around LA, this week we'll be doing a round on Disney companions. So I will probably show a picture of a companion, and you have to name who they're hanging out with. So if I showed a picture of Raja from Aladdin, you would put down Princess Jasmine, for example. So be on the lookout for that if you listen and play my live events. And if you don't play my live events, but you want to book a party around LA, I would love to host your trivia party. I'm doing a big one for a girl who hit me up on my website. And she saw my Yelp reviews, and she said, this sounds like the right thing for me. She's doing a big 90s party down in Long Beach, so we're doing a bunch of 90s trivia rounds at the end of September. If you have something like that coming up, a birthday, a special event, a fundraiser, I can accommodate any kind of party with some amazing pop culture trivia. I think you will dig all the topics. You'll dig the customization of the party, and could be a ton of fun. I have a review from a recent party I did for my friend Jess, all the way out in Newhall, California. She is moving up north for school, but here's a review from Jess's party. Jess was kind enough to say, Ryan hosts trivia at Pocock Brewery in Santa Clarita, Valencia area every Wednesday night. My friends and I have been going weekly since March because it's so great. The rounds are creative and unique, so you don't get the same questions as a regular. He provides fun prizes like VHS movies, comic books, and coveted signed headshots. This past weekend, Ryan came to my going away party to host trivia for my friends and family in my backyard. It was just like the trivia we play at the bar, only I got to choose the rounds. I gave him 80s movies, Harry Potter, NFL, and West Coast trivia about a week before, and he totally delivered. He even came up with personal trivia about my boyfriend and I as bonus questions. Everyone had a great time. I would do it again and again and again. Also, because my boyfriend and I can never get enough, we follow his podcast, Trivia with Buds. We listen and play along when we're eating dinner or on a long road trip. 10 out of 10 would recommend. And then somebody hit the little useful button under that. And I looked her up, and she doesn't even play my nights. She was just a stranger. So that's kind of cool. Thank you so much, Jess. If you have a party like Jess's coming up, I would love to do it for you. It was cool being at Jess's house in Newhall, California, because her mom was telling me that they had just filmed American Horror Story in the house. So they would film a lot of stuff out in that area. There's a lot of studios and things. And actually, the whole production office of the show Ballers played trivia at Pocock Brewing with me one time. They were a lot of fun. And this mom of Jess's mom said they just come and knock on the door, and they have kind of like a, classic-looking suburban house with a big, bright red door. So she said they filmed quite a few things at her house and her neighbor's house. So cult season, whatever that is, 6 or 7 of American Horror Story with the one that's coming out next month. I think it's about a cult theme. There'll be, I think, episode 4 is the house from Newhall that I hosted trivia in. So that's kind of fun. That's a little trivia in and of itself. Hit me up for your party. You can contact me on triviawithbuds.com. Just hit the contact button and we'll set up your party. It's time for this week's word of the week, and that word is degust. D-E-G-U-S-T. Degust, kind of like disgust, but a little bit different. Degust is to taste food or drink carefully so as to fully appreciate it. So, for example, we'll use that in a sentence. Earlier today, because I paid $20 for a chicken Caesar salad at Disneyland, I made sure to degust it because it was $20 fucking. So that's my example of using degust. Something I also degust is Wittekirk beer. I think it's Wittekirky. It's a Belgian brewery. Love their beer. So if I open a can, which I don't have too often, or a bottle, and I take that first sip, I really just degust it. I think that's how you say that word. On this day, that segment, here's the time for that. On this day in 1966, August 29th, it was the Beatles' last public concert of the original 4 together, I believe, in Candlestick Park in San Francisco. Of course, there's a Candlestick Park up in San Francisco. So the Beatles' last concert on this day, August 29th, 1966. That was like 50 years ago. So holy cow. And then this week's badass pop culture thing of the week is kind of a joke version of this usual segment. But it is my weird headshot, which is available to buy in poster size on Amazon.com. If you search Ryan Budds, RYANBUDDS, as I did randomly on Amazon, you will also find this weird user on Amazon Marketplace called The Night's Watch, I think. So it's The Night's Watch, which is a Game of Thrones reference. And they sell just strange headshots. I guess they just find them online and then like claim them as their own. But there's like 3 different headshots of mine that I had on my website at one point. And they're selling like really high res 24 by 36 inch poster size prints of like one of my serious acting headshots from like 5 years ago. So you can buy that. I think it's $24.95, maybe free shipping. And that's my weird pop culture thing of the week. It says rare in the description, which is great because it's not even their picture. It was filmed or shot by my friend Phil Devona in Burbank just one day for my like acting profile when I first moved here. So if you want to buy that, I will offer you this. If you buy one of those and you hit me up, I will send you the frame. I'll buy you a 24 by 36 inch frame, totally free for that poster of my giant headshot, and I'll sign it if you live close to me or you mail it to me or something goofy like that. That is my reach out to you if you want to grab that. We have a great episode coming up for you, and we have tons of toy talk with Dan Polydorus from Death by Toys. Follow him on Instagram, Death by Toys, and check out his website, deathbytoys.com, and then listen to After Our Chat. We talked for about 45 minutes, I think over the phone. This is my first phone interview episode of the show. So he had 10 questions for me on toys, I had 10 for him on toys, and then we BS'd about how we know each other and all the fun toy stuff that we enjoy about collecting and customizing toys. So listen to that, and then afterwards we have a listener quiz with a very special guest. Now, usually the listener quizzes are 5 questions on a random topic by, listeners of the show or friends of mine. This guy came out of the woodwork. You might know him as a master and commander. It's Mr. Russell Crowe with 5 questions for you on something fun. We'll find out what it is right after the chat with Dan. So we're going to get into that, listen for the listener quiz, and some other fun stuff. As soon as we're done, this is 20 questions on toys. Here we go. Sitting here at my grandparents' house. We're over for a visit, and I had this call scheduled, and I'm sitting in a room that I will describe as a library. This is my grandfather's library. It's covered in all kinds of crazy books, Reader's Digest collections of different short stories. A Patricia Cornwell novel called Point of Origin is staring me right in the face. And it's kind of a cool antique-y room, and that's kind of the perfect setting to talk to my friend on the phone. This is the first ever Skype call, Facebook audio type call that I've recorded. So my guest is all the way from Chicago, Illinois. He's an old friend of mine. This is the first guy I ever messaged when I was trying to get into stand-up comedy in about 2005, 2006. I saw his name popping up a lot on different things on MySpace. And I was like, hey, buddy, what do I got to do to get on a show? Or who's this guy running this show? That kind of thing. And that is Mr. Dan Polydorus. How are you doing, Dan?
Good, dude. How are you?
Pretty good. You are one of my oldest comedy buddies.
Yeah, totally. I did not even realize that you had contacted me looking for contacts in the Chicago scene. I would have thought it was the other way around. As my memory would have served it.
No, yeah, I was definitely, you were ahead of the game in terms of what I was trying to do, and I saw you popping up on MySpace, and I was like, maybe this guy knows some good rooms and things, and you were kind enough to send me, I think, a nice lengthy message, which you don't usually get when you're like an open mic.
Yeah.
Usually it's like, yeah, this guy, bye, or no response at all. So that was really cool, and ever since then, we've always kind of stayed in touch, and you don't really do stand-up anymore. I actually don't do a ton of stand-up anymore. I'm kind of, picking and choosing gigs here and there, but you've kind of moved on to bigger and better things. What are some of your big interests and hobbies and jobs now?
Well, I kind of transitioned out of stand-up when I started writing a little bit more professionally, basically when I started writing professionally.
Sure.
And then, I've always been obsessed with vintage toys and collecting toys, and that was kind of in there here and there with the stand-up that I did. But I stopped doing stand-up in 2012.
Okay.
And then a couple years after that, or maybe a year after, right as my first kid was being born, I started painting figures that I had in my basement just for fun. Started cutting heads off, replacing them, posted them. They got a little bit of press, which I didn't expect anything. And then I just started making more and more, and then I started selling them, and it's kind of just turned into sort of a pretty major obsession at this point. So,
And as a kid, were you somebody that was always kind of taking toys apart, or is that something that came later in life?
No, I actually did. My best friend, who I still see just about every week, he's got a couple kids, so we were digging through old toys that his kid was playing with that we used to have, and there were G.I. Joes with the face painted white, and it's like that's supposed to look like Michael Myers.
Oh yeah.
So even as kids, we kind of just messed around with them. I guess he just kind of stopped doing that. But
with wrestling figures, I was constantly turning everyone into Sting in the late '90s when the cool Crow Sting came out with the white and black face paint. I was constantly just white out painting people's faces and then using a fine point Sharpie to put in the facial features and the black eyes and things. I think that was just it was just a fun thing to do. But I've never really gotten, Marty DeRosa, who is a mutual friend of ours. He used to kind of create whole wrestling factions, from what I understand. I've been listening to a podcast called I listened to a podcast called Fully Posable, which you would probably get a kick out of. It's all about wrestling action figure collecting. So shout out to Jeff and Scott Toon, who put that podcast out every week. It's one of my newest obsessions, and it kind of got me way back into collecting wrestling action figures. But Marty was a guest on there for a really fun episode, and he kind of talked for about 2 hours about all the stuff he used to do as a kid. And he used to, completely break open chest plates and figure out the little mechanisms and different things that how the figures were put together and re-put them together and make his own wrestlers and things. So shout out to Marty and Jeff and Scott over at Fully Posable, and Marty on his podcast, Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling. But yeah, I think that's it's cool to have toys, and then it's cool to kind of like make your own toys in a way.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, they're obviously very much tied together for me. I don't think I'd be making toys if I didn't love them already.
Yeah. Going back to your stand-up, you said you inserted a little bit of your toy collecting and kind of nostalgic collecting into to your material. I remember one of the earliest things I saw you do was read the Pac-Man Player's Handbook, which was always great. Sure. It was like it was like from the 70s, right? 70s, late 70s, early 80s? 80s.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
And it was, what were some of the weird terms? What did they call them? Pac dots? Or no, what was the guy's name?
Yeah, well, there wasn't like any, I mean, for someone who actually is a Pac-Man fan, I mean, there was no actual, other than here's the patterns that the ghosts go. Yeah, it was all those nicknames, like they call them the Pac or Critter, and it's like nobody does. Nobody does that. One guy wrote this, calls them that. Sure. So yeah, that was a ridiculous book. Good memory.
Yeah. That was when you could get away with saying how things were before the internet. You're like, everybody calls him the Critter, and you're like, well, this book is the only book I could really reference that with, so I guess he's the Critter.
Yeah, totally.
Very cool. I've been to you invited me into your basement one time, and you constantly post pictures from years back where you had like a really cool setup. Kind of, I think it was before you had kids or before you had two kids. And totally. you just posted one the other day, and it was like this extensive shelving and mantelpiece and all these cool setups and kind of displays and dioramas and things. And now you don't have that, because when I came over to your house, you were kind of everything was kind of dismantled, and you're like, when you have kids, it just kind of all comes down. It all comes crashing down.
Yeah, pretty much. So I still have a couple things up, and I have a couple shelves up, but. You know how it is when you got a kid that starts putting everything in their mouths. It's this lightsaber could murder you, so maybe it's worth putting it away. And, the second one comes around, and then here we are now. So a few things are coming out.
So are there any things? Are there any specific lines of modern toys that you're collecting, or maybe some old stuff you're going back to try and find, or is it all just kind of making stuff at this point?
No, I'm still collecting. I'm still buying. Really. When it comes down to the new people making stuff, pretty much the only stuff I really buy that's new is anything Super 7. Not even anything that Super 7 makes, but some of the stuff that Super 7 does. They make really cool, throwbacky, kind of vintage style figures. They also just inherited the He-Man license from Mattel. Wow. So they're doing pretty cool stuff. But yeah, a lot of vintage too, here and there. Some of my favorite toy lines I've basically completed at this point, so there's not really much else to buy. But, add a couple weird random knickknacks into that, like here's a He-Man shampoo bottle, or here's a Ghostbusters lunchbox, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so,
and you have a really...
Still hitting that hard.
You have an affliction for 80s slasher flick VHS tapes.
Yeah,
you got a big collection of those going.
Yeah, dude, that's actually been kind of the obsession lately.
Awesome, man. So you're still collecting the VHS. And another cool thing that I thought that you had on your resume was, this was probably 6-7 years ago at this point, so maybe 2009, 2010, you got to be a writer on when they brought back You Don't Know Jack, the video game series.
Yes, that was, I think 2009 or 2010, somewhere in there. I did that for 6 months.
And that was a job. Didn't you find that job on Craigslist?
Yeah, I did. I think it was posted elsewhere, but I came across it on Craigslist, and I almost didn't apply for it. But my wife kind of just urged me to do it. So
Sure.
I did. And from then on, that was a good move on her part.
I remember because I think I don't know if I applied at the same time or it was like maybe they were bringing it back again or something for another section. I forget what it was. But I just remember reaching out to you and you helped me with my resume for it, which was really cool. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool. That was like a really fun job to submit for. And that was such a fun iteration of that game, and it was cool to see your name in the credits. And then I remember talking to you about, you're like, oh yeah, I came up with that question or that style of question, that kind of thing. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, if you like You Don't Know Jack games, Dan Polydoris is on the credits for around 2010. And I think they still make those games, don't they? Like as an app or something like that, or maybe for different systems.
Yeah, they are, at the time it was Jellyvision. They've now turned into Jackbox games.
That's right, Jackbox. The Jackbox party packs. That's right. The different,
a lot of add-ons.
Yeah, and those are fun because you can sign in on your phone and you're like suddenly in the game and you can have a bunch of people play. I should incorporate that into my trivia nights where we have like a huge projector and then get a bunch of people playing some creative games. But good shit, man. So if people want to find you online, they could use the tag on Instagram, Death by Toys, at Death by Toys. You can see some of the coolest stuff Dan has made. Some of my favorites of all time on your Instagram account are the custom Ninja Turtle action figures as serial killers from movies.
Thank you, dude. Yeah.
Can you break those down? Who's who out of the four turtles? Who plays each character in your set?
Well, we did. Mikey was Mikey Myers.
Oh, yeah.
That was the given. Leo, I knew right off the bat would be Leatherface to do. I was trying to do some sort of Leo face pun, but Leatherface Leo came out instead.
Sure.
And then Raph is Jason, and whoever the last one is, Donnie, is Freddy.
There you go. Did you, I feel like a lot of people, when you post those, usually around Halloween or so, people will comment, how do I get these? How do I get these? Is that your most requested, custom that you only made the one set, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that the most requested thing of all the stuff you've made where people want it?
Yeah, that probably had the highest amount of people that kind of reached out or that I'd see online speaking up about it. It was probably that tied with Coven, but I only made the one set. I know there's a dude from Kentucky who made 2 sets of them.
Really?
Based on the recipe that I posted. He was super nice and dropped me a line while he was making them, and I kind of gave him pointers because he was making a set for himself and a set for his best friend.
Oh, I gotcha.
And I helped him out, and I mean, they came out. They looked great. They looked just like the other ones, and he had them on his Instagram account for a while, but he since took them off and has disappeared. So
interesting.
There are 2 other sets that exist elsewhere. I'm sure I posted the recipe, so I'm sure there's other people who have made them. So those are the only 2 I've ever seen, though. Yeah,
yours look, especially with the backdrop that you made, they really look like something you'd find in a magazine, like a comic. Like, hey, get these this exclusive edition of these Ninja Turtle serial killers. It's pretty great.
Yeah, that was the point. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Another cool thing people might recognize you from, this got a lot of press and still continues, I feel like, to pop up every once in a while, the Fog action figure from the movie The Fog, which you kind of made on those retro reaction style, card backing with the bubble. And inside the bubble was just a blob of fog that I think was a spider web from Halloween time. Is that right?
No, that's what everyone thinks it is. That's what I was going to use.
Yeah. But
at the time that I made them, none of the Halloween stuff was available, so I was going to go get a bag of stuffing from Michael's. But then I don't know how old she was at the time, 1 maybe, my 1-year-old daughter was pulling apart a cotton ball because she was obsessed with them and pulled this cotton ball apart that frayed, and I was like, there we go, we'll just use cotton balls. So they're all just regular old generic cotton balls.
Amazing. And have you seen, because you put out a good chunk of those and people were swiping up like crazy because the card looked so great. It looked like a legit packaged figure. Have you noticed, are there a lot, like right after that, were there a lot of bootlegs where people were doing bootlegs of your bootleg?
Yeah, I've seen other versions of the Fog. I'd be apprehensive to call it a bootleg of my thing when I'm already bootlegging it from something else. But
sure.
Yeah, I've seen a handful of other fogs with different card backs that, look neat, I think. And,
sure. And another one of the coolest things I saw you did recently was the banana from the tailpipe from Beverly Hills Cop. It was just a banana. How did you produce the bananas?
I just stole them all out of my kids' play kitchen, like their play food.
There you go.
But then I did that. But then I went to Toys R Us and I bought 2 buckets of play food. Took the bananas out, resealed them, and returned them with the bananas missing. I could probably go to jail and do some hard time for this. But,
you have to bend the rules and break a few bananas to make the blogs, to make the blog roll.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So yeah, check those out all at Death by Toys. Now, I'm going to ask you 10 trivia questions on toys that I came up with, and I think you have 10 for me. We'll kind of go back and forth in a little battle on the phone here. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about your top 5 favorite toys. We'll go back and forth with those. So I have a list of my 5 favorite and why I love them so much. We'll start with one of mine. These are in no particular order, and then we'll go to one of yours. So here are my top 5 toys from my childhood. The first one, I think it was Play School, maybe Little Tykes, I can't remember. It was the cash register where it had the the drawer that popped out, and it had like 3 disc size coins, and you can put them in and pull the lever and the drawer would pop out. Do you remember what brand that was?
I think you're right. It was either Fisher Price or maybe I don't know. I would say maybe Play School, but I feel like that's probably a Fisher Price.
Yeah, I think you're right.
A lot of old stuff that looked like Fisher Price style stuff too.
Yeah,
but I know exactly the register you're talking about.
Yeah, I think there's a really old one, maybe from the 50s, 60s, or 70s, that is like really kind of tarnished looking and darker. And the one I had was it was like the brighter, like 80s version of that, or maybe 70s, late 70s, early 80s. But it was one of my favorite things to play with because it was just fun to watch the money roll out of the side thing. And every time I go to a grocery store that has that, and the change comes out for you, I always think of that toy. So that was pretty cool. What was one of your favorite toys growing up?
I'd probably say the Peter Venkman figure from Real Ghostbusters.
Sure.
Is one I specifically remember getting as a little kid, opening the huge package.
Yeah.
Immediately clipping the giant stream off of the pack because I was like, this is stupid. Why would he just have like a 6-foot stream just coming out? Yeah. Always clip that off. And the Baller figure, it's one of my favorites.
Oh, it's great. It's perfect for the cartoon if you like the cartoon. One of my next ones was the Hasbro WWF ring. It came with a flag and a little championship belt that kind of wrapped around a post that was on a table connected to the ring. Were you a wrestling guy at all? Did you collect wrestling stuff?
No, I never really was. I used to play with the big, like 6-inch rubber ones. If you remember those,
the LJNs. Yeah.
Right. Those were all LJN. Those were real fun. My buddy my best friend was a super heavy-duty pro wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So I kind of just tag along. He went on to actually be a pro wrestler, but
really? You're like, his name is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, right. Maybe you've heard of him, but he and I. So that was my foray into anything WWE that I'm familiar with. I'm familiar with when it was WWF, and it was 80s heyday. That's what I remember.
Very good. What was your next toy?
I'd probably say it'd be a combo of Battle Cat with He-Man on top of them.
Okay.
Just from the old Mattel line.
Yeah.
The classic Battle Cat I remember having as a kid, and I don't know, just the sort of green with the yellow stripes and the red saddle, just classic as fuck, dude.
Very good. I was never a He-Man guy. I don't know. Was He-Man in its heyday, was that what, like 84 to 87 probably?
Yeah, I'd say maybe, it might even be 83 if I'm not 100% sure. But yeah,
sure.
84, 85, 86 range.
I was born in 85, so by the time I would have really been getting into collecting certain toys, I would have probably been 89, 90, and I think He-Man was kind of on the way out. But yeah, I definitely remember seeing those like my friends' older brothers always had He-Man figures, things like that. This next one came mid 90s. I want to say like 94, 95, 96 or so. They were the Street Fighter G.I. Joes. Do you remember that line?
Dude, those Street Fighter Joes were awesome.
Oh my God. I need someone to sit down and make the G.I. Joe box and figures of stuff. Like I need, you know how Funkos are all a certain type of thing, or Reaction they all look the same. I need someone to just make classic G.I. Joe style figures that look like, you know, Pulp Fiction characters and all that shit. So take the Reaction idea, but give me some more posability. That's what I want.
Yeah, that'd be pretty neat.
I loved inserting those G.I. Joes, the Street Fighters, into the existing G.I. Joe storylines I had going on. I thought that was so much fun to be like, oh, and then a boxer showed up named Balrog, and he was just, but he looked just like them. You know, it was fun to do. Your next toy on your list, what was it?
Probably My Pet Monster.
Oh yeah, My Pet Monster.
I don't know if that might be a little before your time, but that was. I remember getting that for Christmas.
Yeah,
and just. Yeah, that thing. It had a movie that came with it.
Was it a single style doll, or were there like hundreds of them, or was it just one thing?
They made a few different ones. Yeah. They kind of expanded the line, but just the classic. First, right off the bat, with the orange cuffs that break away, and just hard to beat that. I mean, 80s is my favorite stuff. So
sure.
That's like super iconic 80s.
Of course. I have this one next on my list. It was the Spider-Man Daily Bugle playset, and this was in the mid to late 90s, and it was when the Spider-Man the animated series was on Fox, and this was modeled after that show. And it was just a really cool building setup that you could, it was pretty tall. It had a dumpster, a blue dumpster that I thought was amazing, and I would use for dumpster matches with my wrestling figures. So I thought that was really cool to have.
Yeah.
And I think there was maybe like a gargoyle post for like a hobgoblin or a green goblin to sit on. There was just a lot of cool parts of it, and I really digged it. And I think there was a whole back to it that was kind of like some scaffolding or like a fire escape or something like that. But I got that on a Christmas morning and put it together and played with the whole day. So that one kind of is near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, that's a good one, man.
Yeah.
I remember having that one too. It was mostly cardboard too, right? A lot of cardboard.
It was, yeah. It was a lot of cardboard. Did you have, what was next on your list? Did you have any play sets or anything like that?
For me, iconic play sets, I'd probably say the Ewok Village play set.
Oh, yeah.
My Ewok Village is still my childhood Ewok Village.
Yeah.
And Star Wars stuff in general is like at the top of my list. But yeah, man, I loved my Ewok Village as a kid.
There was a really badass Swamp Thing, like hideout type play set. Do you remember the Swamp Thing toys?
Yeah, the Kenner ones.
Yeah, I remember. I didn't even know what Swamp Thing was, but I think maybe I had that play set for some reason, and I just loved it. Was there some sort of like tunnel, or like he went down like a slide or something like that? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, there was something weird with that. Totally. Uh-huh. That's a cool line.
Yeah, I need to go back and examine those. I haven't looked at those in years. My last thing I wrote on my top 5 toys: the April O'Neil original Ninja Turtles figure. She's wearing yellow. This one's near and dear to me because I couldn't find it forever. It was really hard to find on the south side of Chicago, and my grandma used to take me, and she'd get me a different toy every time we went out. It was usually like a Batman the Animated Series toy or a Ninja Turtle. But way back when I first started, I would say collecting toys, I remember she was as happy as I was when I found it. She was like, "We found her," and she was old. I was the youngest of 5, and my grandma was up there. She was in probably her early 80s, maybe late 70s, and I remember we got it home, and like the next day, this neighbor of mine named Sam Cody, little girl, came over, and she grabbed the figure by both legs and broke it like a wishbone. She broke the leg right off the brand new figure. And my grandma, I brought it to her, and she said, "That little bitch." And I remember being like, "Oh my God!" Like I've never heard my grandma swear. She was very old school, and she was so mad. She goes, "That little bitch!" Like vindictive. It was great. And I think we glued it back on, and it was fine, and I couldn't move it, or maybe I got another one or something. But I'll never forget that. What was your last toy?
I don't know. I would say probably one of my favorites would be the 80s Voltron line by Panosh Place. The Matchbox one was a little bit smaller. The Panosh Place one had the 3 3/4 inch figures. That were kind of posable like Star Wars figures, and I remember having them as a kid and loving those. And I've since then recollected the whole line, and they're awesome. They're such a great line.
Closing it out strong with Voltron. All right, we're going to get into some trivia now that we know everything about you, what you grew up on, what you're into, and what you do for work and in your spare time. So, Dan, I got questions. We'll go back and forth. You ask me a question, I'll ask you a question, and we'll kind of just do this for fun. We'll see who knows more about some random toy questions with this Trivia Showdown Buds battle. So here we go. This is question number 1 for you. Let's see if you can get it. Lincoln Logs were invented by the son of what famous architect?
Lincoln Logs were invented by the son of... I don't know. Frank Lloyd Wright?
It was Frank Lloyd Wright. Well done. Not far from where you live, in Chicago probably. All the Frank Lloyd Wright stuff, including his museum and his house and all that stuff. You're probably not too far from there. But yeah, I just looked that up. I didn't know that. I just was like, well, let me see if I could... I was going to ask what decade were Lincoln Logs invented, but the first thing on Wikipedia, it was like, yeah, the second son of Frank Lloyd Wright, so-and-so, I guess his name was something Lloyd Wright as well. I should have looked that up. But yeah, he invented Lincoln Logs. So good job. One point for you. What do you got for me?
All right. What year did G.I. Joe switch to the smaller 3 3/4 inch line?
Okay. Let's see. So this would have been like the first year I could have collected the ones I grew up with, essentially.
Yes, exactly. The ones that you're into.
All right. I'm going to say 1984.
2 off. 82.
82. Oh, I knew it. I was like, it's 80.
Early.
Yeah, I was thinking. I know it was definitely not later, but I was thinking it was maybe 84. But 82. There you go. Did you have those back in 82? Did you have any of the first line? When were you born? You had to be born around 82.
I was born in 80.
80. Okay.
And no, the 84, 85, 86 Joe lines that's my sweet spot. Those are the ones that I remember playing with as a kid.
There you go. Here's question number 2. What company owns the rights to the game Operation?
Milton Bradley?
It is Milton Bradley. 2 for 2 for Dan Polly D.
All right.
I just read this on Wikipedia that I think it was a University of Illinois student came up with the idea for that game, and he sold the patent for Operation to Milton Bradley in the 60s or 70s for $500 and the promise of a job. And they said that franchise is worth $40 million now. So I don't think that was probably not the right move. But who knows? He probably, it's weird when you think about that. You're like, well, could he have done anything to make it into a $40 million thing? Or is that the power of a Milton Bradley has to do that probably? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Totally.
Mm-hmm. All right. What do you got? Number 2.
All right. This is sort of a different type of a question. Name 4 characters from He-Man that have the word man in their name.
Oh, my God. It's somebody who I said barely knows He-Man. So I can't say...
Yeah, you just told me that you said, I only have 10 questions. I would have swapped it out.
So I can't say He-Man. That doesn't count.
You can say him. Sure, that
okay.
counts.
So
We're
He-Man.
A quarter of the way there.
There you go. 3 more. Well, She-Ra does not have man in her name.
No, that's correct.
That's correct. Another man. Put me on the spot. I don't think I can name one other man.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can't pull out one, let alone 3. All right, that's kind of an inside one, especially when you just told me you didn't know He-Man.
That's cool. Well, give me a couple. Yeah, give me a couple.
Merman, Beastman, Man-at-Arms,
Beastman,
Ram-Man.
I definitely shouldn't be able to do that. See, if you're going Mega Man bosses, right. I could have held you on Mega Man bosses. Yeah. I should have just started saying some of those. Cut Man, Guts Man.
It's not that far off.
Question number 3. As far as I know, I don't know how true this is. This is kind of just off the top of the old dome. Number 3, G.I. Joes made a Sergeant Slaughter figure, obviously, I think a number of them, who was a wrestler and part of the G.I. Joe team, which was interesting. What was the only other wrestler they made a G.I. Joe of? This is kind of a rare one. I think it was like maybe some kind of collector's thing not too long ago, sometime in the last 10, 15 years.
What was the only kind of what figure they made?
What other wrestler? So Sergeant Slaughter was a wrestler and a G.I. Joe. They made one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made one other wrestler into a G.I. Joe. As far as I know, do you know who that wrestler was?
Man, oh man.
I've seen it. Like
John Cena?
Not John Cena. No, a little bit more old school. Same era as Slaughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I saw this. I saw a signed version of this. It looked amazing, but I think they're really rare and expensive nowadays. It was. You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
It was Roddy Piper.
Oh.
I don't
really?
know. Yeah, I don't know if they were going to add him as a character in the G.I. Joe series, but he was supposed to be. I don't know. He was somehow associated with it at some point, and they did release a figure, but I don't know if it was like a throwback, like, hey, we were going to do this, and they made it, in 2009 or something. I have no idea, but I saw pictures of it, so look that up. It's very, very cool. I'll put a link to it in the show notes for this episode. Here's question number 3 from Dan to me. Let's see if I can get another one.
All right. What was Slimer's original name that he had on his toy from the real Ghostbusters line from Kenner? It wasn't Slimer.
I know
What did they
this.
call him?
See, I definitely know this because I've read this somewhere. Oh.
It's very literal, if it helps.
Okay. Based on what you just said, because I wanted to say it was something food related, like Fatso or something like that. But based on what you said, I'm going to say Green Ghost. Was it just like Green Ghost?
Very good, dude.
Is that what it was?
Uh-huh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was Green Ghost.
Green Ghost. Very good. So do you think that he was originally just supposed to be kind of like a one-time Green Ghost, and then he was so popular they made him a way bigger part of the series?
No, I wonder if it has something to do with... Well, I don't know, because I don't really think he's ever called Slimer in the movie. And
That's
right. He's called Slimer in the show. I don't know. Who knows?
Interesting.
Maybe just the Lord knows.
All right, here's question 4 for you. What country is Lego based in?
Sweden?
You're close. It was Denmark. Denmark.
No, that would have been my second choice.
There you
That's
go.
That's a good question.
Yeah, there you go. Question 4 from Dan. What do you got?
All right. What 80s toy line had the tagline, "Illusion is the ultimate weapon"?
Isn't that another way of saying more than meets the eye?
Yeah, it basically is.
Illusion
It's a very different type of...
I would have loved if it just said even more than meets the eye. Illusion is the ultimate weapon. Let's see. Illusion. Something to do with magic, maybe? Am I close with magic?
No, not really. And man, now that I know that you were born in 85, this one might even be a little bit ahead of your time.
I'm going to guess... I'm going to guess like some spin-off of Transformers. Was it Transformers related?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, what do you got?
It was called Mask. Do you remember that?
They talk about it on the Fully Posable podcast, but they haven't talked about it enough where I'm like, I should Google what that is, but I actually don't know what it is. What was it?
Cool. Just a crazy toy line where the dudes drove normal-looking vehicles, but then stuff would pop out of them and they'd sort of transform, if you will. So maybe in a weird way you were correct.
Very good.
Into these sort of like vehicle weapon-y type things. So,
but this was before Transformers or after?
It might have been during. I mean, they were fairly different in nature. I mean, other than the fact that you push a button and something pops out of it. But like a motorcycle that has a helicopter that pops out of the top.
Gotcha.
So, little figures that sit in this things and characters. So.
And was MASK an acronym, like MASK?
Yes, it was. No idea what it stands for, but it definitely was an acronym.
Very good. Question 5 is about the movie Toy Story. John Ratzenberger does the voice of what character in Toy Story? Known as Cliff Clavin on Cheers.
Ham.
He does the voice of Ham.
The pig.
The old piggy bank. Well done. Number 5 from Dan to me. What do you got?
That's a good one. All right, you collect a few different types of things, a little more diverse than I do. What size in inches would be a 1/6 scale figure?
Ooh. What size in inches? A 1/6. Would that be 12 inches? Would that be a 12-inch figure?
Very good, dude.
Oh, see, I don't know that kind of shit. So that was definitely pulled. I was trying to think. I'm like, okay, 1'6", 12, 6 feet tall. If it's a 6 foot tall person, is that how you would?
Totally.
That's how you think of it. Very good. All right, Number 6. What year did the Robin Williams movie Toys come out?
Oh shit! 92.
Holy shit! Right on the nose. 1992. Have you seen that movie?
Yes, not for a long time. Probably since 1993.
What was the premise? That is he work at a toy factory and it's very odd, or is he a weirdo? I don't remember anything about it.
Is he an inventor or a toy inventor? It's something weird. My 13-year-old brain probably didn't pick up the nuances.
Here's another. Did you ever see 1 Hour Photo?
Yeah, where he's the killer. I haven't seen it.
I don't think he kills anybody. He just gets obsessed with the family. It's a very psychological movie. He's the photo guy at like a Costco or something. But that's
right.
it.
I assumed that he was then killing people.
Oh yeah, it definitely looks. The trailer makes it look like he's a murderer, but he's like a nice guy that doesn't have a family that kind of absorbs this other family and lives through their pictures. So it's kind of weird, but his performance is great. Anyway, if you've seen that movie, a really inside question is he buys a toy for the son of the family. It's like a toy the mom won't buy him, and he like overhears it, so he buys him this really expensive toy, and the toy is an Evangelion figure.
The anime?
Yeah, so that's a real inside Robin Williams, another toy-related trivia question. But I just remember that scene in the movie because I didn't know what that was at the time, and then someone explained to me, oh, that's like an anime. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, question number 6 for you. What do you got?
All right. So this might be a little bit more closer to your time. The Dick Tracy toy line.
Oh, loved it.
Is generally worthless, with the exception of one figure that catches sort of big dollars. Who is it?
Well, I know that you collect it. I think you have all these except this one, or do you have this one?
I don't.
You don't, but you have all the rest, don't you?
Almost all the rest. I think I might be missing one other.
Yeah, you rekindled because I forgot that I had collected those, and then you were posting pictures of them some years back, and I was like, ooh, I should dig under my house for those. The one you're thinking of is the Blank, played by Madonna.
Very good. Yes, that's right, dude.
Yeah, and could you take the face off the figure, the mask, to reveal Madonna?
The hat came off, but then at the front of the hat, the sort of blank face came down to cover the face. So it was a single piece that was the hat and the face.
And was this one of the toys that ruined that part of the movie? Like, was it packaged where you could see that it was her? Or am I thinking... oh, no, you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of the Batman Mask of the Phantasm figure. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that ruined it for me when I looked at that figure. I don't even think I've still ever seen that, but I know that the killer, I know that the Phantasm is just that woman.
The red-haired woman.
I saw the... Yeah, I don't even know who it is, but I was like, oh, well, I guess I looked at that toy, and now the movie's ruined for me. They kept her face hidden for the Blank. There
you go. You should go back and watch it. It still holds up. It's really good. It's she kills all these mob bosses, and I think she legit is killing them, and it's a cartoon that was aimed at kids. But I think she was killing them, and then you find out they killed her dad or something at the end, but Bruce is in love with her and he doesn't realize what's going on. It's a really cool story, and it ends at an amusement park with the Joker, I believe, and she's about to kill the Joker, and then there's this big showdown. So I just told you the whole movie, but you should still watch it. Here's number 7. What color?
Thanks for ruining it more.
Sure. What color is New York Avenue, I think it is, in the game Monopoly? What color is that property set?
New York Avenue. Purple?
It's orange. It's the last spot before free parking.
Oh, very good.
One of the orange
Monopoly.
ones.
No, thank you for me.
I just bought a game called Monopoly. I, for some reason, do like Monopoly. I don't know one other person that does, so I never get to play it. But there's something about it. It's like simple enough, but there's a little strategy. I don't like real big strategy games like anything Dungeons and Dragons related, or like even the like people will play like Firefly, the board game. I'm like, I can't comprehend it, but I can comprehend the mechanics of like Monopoly and why you should have certain things at certain times and whatever. But I just bought Monopoly Here and Now, which was $3.99 on clearance at Toys R Us, and I was like, this will be worth it. But I haven't played it yet, so we'll see how it goes. Question number 7. What do you got?
All right. What toy company made the Mario Brothers movie figures that came out in the 90s.
Ooh, let's see. I remember those figures. They were as ugly as the movie. Let's see. I don't know a ton of toy companies off the top of my head, so I'm going to pull your Swamp Thing card, and I'm going to say Kenner.
Okay. They do have the feel of having been a Kenner product. No, they were made by Ertl,
Okay.
who made so many die-cast toys and just a very weird little action figure line.
That was my grandma's name, my grandma Ertl, who called my neighbor a bitch. Number 8.
Kind of gal.
Number 8. What color was the door on the Ghostbusters Firehouse playset?
Like a fluorescent red.
There you go, a fluorescent red. I didn't write down fluorescent, but I will take your word that it was as fluorescent as can be.
Hey,
red.
I saw you when I bought mine.
Is that right? We were at the Kane County. Was it the Kane County thing?
Yeah, totally. I remember running into you. I was with my wife, and I might have even been holding 2 at the time, but I definitely remember holding 1 and running into you. So
you had you were doing reps with like barbells with both of them, one in each hand, up and down. It was very interesting. Was that what that was called? The Kane County Fairgrounds Toy Fair?
Yeah, it's technically called the Chicago Toy Show. Everyone calls it the Kane County Show.
Do you run a booth there every year, or do you work there? Do you do something there?
No, I've never sold at a convention before, something like that. It's just, I don't have enough stuff that I'm ready to part with at any given moment. But I go every year.
You go and you kind of you cherry pick and that kind of thing. I found the New Kids on the Block. It was like a 5-pack of figures. They're terrible. And since then, one of my dog has destroyed the Donnie Wahlberg. Destroyed. So it's like they barely stand up on their own, but now you really have to have Donnie be held up by the rest of the band if you want to display him because he's missing his ankles. But yeah, that was I bought him in a Ziploc bag from that toy show. I think they were $1.99, and I was like, this feels like it's worth $2.
Yeah, sure.
And who knows if that purchase was worthwhile or not. But here's number 8 from you. We got a couple more questions on each end. What do you got for number 8?
What classic and iconic 80s toy did E.T. use?
Ooh, what classic? Like in the movie?
Yes. He technically uses it to help phone home, but it's what he became synonymous with in the 80s.
I don't know why I don't know this. Okay, let's see.
E.T.'s 2 years before your birth date, though.
Yeah, no, but I definitely seen the movie. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 things. The first thing I'm going to say is I think Mattel football handheld game. Is that the right answer?
That's not what I was thinking. He doesn't use that to phone home, but it might have been in there.
Okay, and then I don't know, in terms of phones, was it like the burger phone? Like that kind of thing or something like that?
Oh, yeah, the classic Udi's burger phone. No, it was a lot of buttons, if that helps as a hint. Which isn't not really much of a help, I'm sure.
I got nothing. What was it?
It's called a speak and spell.
Oh, yes, a speak and spell. That's what he uses to phone home in the movie?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He rigs one up with some other stuff, and it's kind of become so many E.T. toys that came out in the 80s came with a speak and spell. Like a little, like my talking ET has a little tiny speak and spell with them, and so
that's awesome. I for some reason forgot that. Here's number 9. Let's see if you remember this one. What was the main accessory? I think she came with a star or a couple of throwing stars and maybe something else small. But what was the main accessory that April O'Neil, that figure my neighbor broke? What did she come with? Do you remember?
She had a camera that had a handgun that fit inside, I think, so that the handle of the handgun was like the handle of the camera. Is it something like that?
Yeah, I think I forgot about the combo, but I couldn't see the picture right before I called you, and I'm like, is that a gun? I go, I don't remember having a gun, but I might have been too young to realize that was a gun, and maybe like my brother put it together for me, and I was like, oh, it's just the handle. Like I don't know if I realized it was a gun or something, but I was just looking for camera.
Like a pistol.
Yes, so you nailed it. Video cam. Well done. And number 9 for you.
Number 9 for me. All right. What are the 6 colors on a classic 80s Rubik's Cube?
I am going to say this, and hopefully I get it. Green, blue, yellow, red,
Okay.
white,
Yep.
and orange.
Very good, dude.
I don't know why I know that. I've never been able to solve one line of a goddamn Rubik's Cube. Here's number 10. Who does the voice of the villainous collector in Toy Story 2? I thought it would be fun to end on this one. The villainous collector in Toy Story 2. What was the guy who did that voice?
Oh, man. Toy Story 2. That's the one with the pink bear or whatever, like the purple stuffed animal bear. That's like the old guy.
That's number 3. Number 2 is where there's a collector who, there's like an old set of Woody-style toys. It was like Woody was like an old cowboy toy with Jesse and Prospector Pete, I think his name was, or Stinky Pete or something like that. And then the dog Bullseye, or the horse Bullseye. It was like a 4 set of classic toys, kind of like a Howdy Doody type set or something. So this collector, this collector wants to try and get all the original pieces or something like that. It's kind of tough. The guy who did the voice was Newman from Seinfeld, Wayne Knight.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't have been able to pull that out.
Yeah, the character looks a little bit like him too. He's kind of modeled after him with like a goatee. Yeah, he's great. He's a good villain in that. All right, last question for you, and we'll bring this thing home.
Last question for me. What is the name? We all know what the leader of the Transformers was, Optimus Prime. Mm-hmm. What was the name of the leader for the sort of crappy offshoot GoBots?
Oh, man. I thought you were going to say, I thought I was just going to have to say Megatron. Let's see. GoBots. I don't know shit about the GoBots, so I'm going to have you bring this one home with the answer. What do you got, Dan?
GoBot's main guy was Leader 1. I mean, it basically said most of his name asking the question with the word leader in it anyways. So
amazing. They couldn't think anything better than Leader 1.
Yeah, leader. I don't know, just put a 1 on it and let's just call it a day. I guess that works. That's how much
We're going on break. Well, awesome, man. Those were great questions. I think you tore me up. You knew more than me. But we had a good mix of 20 questions there, so good stuff all around.
Yeah.
Thanks for jumping on the call with me. And where can people find you online? What do you want people to check out?
Just go to deathbytoys.com. It's got everything you need. You can find me online. I post the most on Instagram, but anything I'm doing on the site. So
very cool. Death by Toys, at Death by Toys on Instagram, deathbytoys.com. This has been a great chat with our toy collecting friend, Dan Polydoris. Thanks, Dan.
Cool. Thanks, bud. This was fun.
All right. Bye-bye. There he is, Dan Polydoris, one of my oldest friends in the world of stand-up comedy and one of my newest friends in toy collecting. Check out Death by Toys on social media and deathbytoys.com for Dan's amazing creations. And you just got to see those 4 slasher flick Ninja Turtles. If you go look at anything, go look at those and check out all the other amazing stuff like his Fog action figure. They got picked up by so many different pop culture news outlets. We have a bunch of amazing episodes coming up, and I would love for you to check them out. So subscribe to this show, tell a friend about this show, rate and review this show, and I got a special offer for you. The next review that I see pop up on iTunes is going to get a special customized toy from Dan Polydoris. I have one in my possession from a thing I did a couple years back called the Budds Box, which was kind of like a loot crate of stuff all made by friends of mine. And Dan was kind enough to make an amazing set of, it was like a Pong, like the Atari game Pong, play set. So it's like 3 blocks of wood, and it's an amazing little package. And I'll post a picture of it online, and we'll bring that back up. And the next person that I see that leaves a review, I will hit you up and make sure that you get that Pong set, which is rare and hard to find, and made just for Budds Box by Dan Polydoris and Death by Toys. So leave a review and try and get that Pong set in your possession. It's time for this week's listener quiz. I teased it at the beginning of the episode, and it's none other than a 5-question quiz from Mr. let's see, what other movie was he in? I can't think of one other. Roger Dodger. I think he was in a movie called Roger Dodger, and he was in that movie, not Hollywoodland, but LA Confidential. That's it. He was a big enforcer. In LA Confidential, Mr. Russell Crowe. Here we go.
This is Russell Crowe for Trivia with Buds. These questions are about one of my favorite directors to work with, Ron Howard. What 1995 Ron Howard film has both of his parents in it? What 1977 Ron Howard film became a popular name for a video game? What 2001 Ron Howard film that I was in won the Oscar for Best Picture? What actor has starred in the most Ron Howard films? What 1973 film did Ron Howard star in that was directed by George Lucas? What 1995 Ron Howard film has both of his parents in it? Apollo 13. What 1977 Ron Howard film became a popular name for a video game? Grand Theft Auto. What 2001 Ron Howard film that I was in won the Oscar for Best Picture? A Beautiful Mind. What actor has starred in the most Ron Howard films? Tom Hanks has done 5 films with Ron Howard. What 1973 film did Ron Howard star in that was directed by George Lucas? American Graffiti.
This is Vic Butera. I do voiceovers and celebrity impressions, and you can check out my stuff and contact me at vicbutera.com. Thanks, Ryan.
There he was, Russell Crowe, as portrayed by my good friend, Vic Butera. Thanks so much. Check out vicbutera.com for all your voiceover and announcer needs. He can hook you up with some sweet, sweet pipes in the old microphone. Thanks, Vic. Thanks, Russell. That was awesome. If you have a listener quiz, send it on my way at ryanbudds@gmail.com, ryanbudds@gmail.com. You can also leave your listener quiz as the form of voicemail on the Trivia with Buds hotline. That's 424-265-1212, 424-265-1212. I would love to hear your listener quiz and insert it on any topic. Just record it in this format. Say your name, where you're from, do your 5 questions on any topic. Oh, say what topic you're doing, of course, like Doctor Who or something like that. And then do your 5 questions, then take a little pause, then do the 5 questions again, but read the answer after each question and plug something at the end for you, your blog, your website, whatever you do, and send that file my way. It does not have to be fancy. You can do it on a voice memo app on your phone, your Android or your iPhone, and just send me that file, and I'll make sure it gets put on a future episode of the show. Speaking of future episodes, we got some great ones coming up very soon with the star of Blank Check, my friend Brian Bonsall, and his brother Victor DiMattia, who is in The Sandlot. That'll be a great episode coming up with punk, rock, and video games as the categories. We also have a chat with Craig Bartlett, the creator of Hey Arnold, about bringing the Hey Arnold franchise back to Nickelodeon in the form of Hey Arnold, the Jungle Movie, which picks up right where the series finale left off. Check it out, rate, review, and subscribe to this show. Tell a friend, book your party with me at triviawithbuds.com, and hope to see you soon at a live event around Los Angeles. Thanks for listening. Thanks for telling a friend, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.